Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's ladder logic scenario is going to be, we have a piece of equipment that has an encoder on it, and the encoder counts from 0 to 5,000. So we want to scale that value from 0 to 100. So let's say that 0 is at the bottom and 5,000 is at the top, but we don't want people to have to memorize. If you tell them it's at value 2500, they're not going to know what that relates to. We don't want them to have to memorize the range. So we want to scale these values to 0 to 100, and that way we can tell them it's at like 50% or something that's easy for them to relate to. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to need to create a couple variables. And this, we don't have a real encoder, we use an online simulator, so we're going to need to first program our own encoder. I'm going to create a Boolean internal memory address M1 just to give me something to be able to start and stop our encoder that we're going to program. And from the first video we said that numbers are stored in registers, so all these encoder values that we're going to be dealing with today are going to be numbers. So we're going to create some register memory. So I'm making them data type number. If you haven't seen the first video in the series yet, I'll drop a link to it in the description below. Alright, let's see what we can do with this. Let's start by dropping a contact. And again, what we're doing here, we're just going to make our own encoder. Alright, so an add instruction, we're going to set it up like this to where it takes whatever's in register 1, adds register 2 to that value, and then it saves it back in register 1. And what that'll make it do, every time this logic gets scanned, it's going to make that value in register 1 climb. So let's give register 2 a value of 20. Alright, so let's just cut our toggle on right here. This should make the value in register 1 just start climbing. There we go. So we've got us a value that's going to climb, and now I said it's going to climb to 5,000. So this thing, the way it's programmed right now, is going to climb forever. So we need to put something on the next rung to make it reset. So let's do a greater than or equal statement, and we'll say whenever register 1, our raw encoder value, and then we're going to need another one. Let's do R3, and we'll call it threshold. And we'll make this 5,000. So whenever register 1, whenever our encoder gets to be greater or equal than whatever's in register 3, which is 5,000, then we can move, let's see, we need another register. Then we can move a 0 back into our encoder. So let me go ahead and get that thing back counting. There we go. So we see our raw encoder's counting because of the add instruction. So every time this logic gets scanned, it's adding 20 to the value, which makes it climb like you see there. So it's incrementing by 20 every scan. That's what this first rung does for us. Now the second rung is monitoring every time. Every scan is checking to see if register 1's value is greater or equal than whatever's in register 3, which over here is 5,000. So here in just a minute we're going to get to be above 5,000, and then it's going to take whatever's in register 4 and move it into register 1, which register 4 has a 0. So here in just a second, when register 1 hits 5,000, it's going to get a 0 moved back into it right there. So that's our encoder. That's our encoder simulation. Alright, and now what we said we want to do is scale this value so that, like, we're going to make a display for an operator, and instead of it being 0 to 5,000, that doesn't really relate to anything easy for them. So everybody can relate to 0 to 100, 0% to 100%, with 100 being the top or the end or whatever this thing's doing. So let's put some logic in to scale this value for us. So on the next rung, I'm going to use a divide instruction, and we're going to be dividing our encoder. We're going to need another register. Since our top limit is 5,000, if we divide by 50, then that should give us a 0 to 100. We'll be able to see it here in just a second. So we're going to divide register 1 by register 5, which is 50, and we're going to save it into register 6. So let's watch this for a second right here. So you see we just passed 2,500, which was halfway, and that's why this scaled value was a little over 50. So our register 6 here, our scaled value should pretty much be a 0 to 100 now. Let's watch it. Once it gets to 100, it should roll over back to 0. There we go. Right there. Went 99 to 100 and back to 0. So anyhow, guys, I just wanted to do this because it's kind of something useful to know, and it demonstrates some numbers, some registers, and some math instructions, all of which we talked about in the very first video, but we haven't done much with them in our other tutorials. And then we have this comparison of a greater than or equal to. So hopefully you like this video and it makes sense. If you have any other scenarios that you want to see me program, just drop me a comment down below. I think that's all for today. Thank you, and bye.